What, mate?
Is it Roots of Fight?
The Gvovdyk podcast. If you two, I just shut the fuck up with your
Shut up! Me and Craig are in a conversation about my Class A t-shirt, mate.
It's a great way to start the podcast. A very different podcast to the usual one. So we're all on video, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Keep it Kleenex, mate.
Craig, I just wanted to start with that profile picture you put on last night of you drinking a coffee. It seemed to disappear really quickly. Do you want to maybe tell us why?
Well, I found that I was actually with my mates in his garden, and we were talking about when we went to Dublin on holiday. Some people will remember that as when I had a breakdown on Twitter and started calling it MTK, which at the moment is probably not the best idea. And I was extremely hungover, and we were in a coffee shop, and I got that daft picture taken. So I found it on my phone. I went, I'll put this on Twitter for a laugh. Immediately started getting backlash from the coffee community. They were outraged at the fact I was using their product to boost my own profile. So I've had to change it back.
You've been a busy man, Craig, during lockdown. There's been about 3 articles out a day.
One of us has to do something.
Well, that's true.
Some of us are working, mate. Some of us have got a real job.
I know. Ross is even in work on a Sunday.
Exactly, mate.
Ross, you want to give everyone a tour of your office and your signed memorabilia? That Triple G behind you?
That's Triple G, mate. Aye. That's me and Jordan and Big Paul.
Very nice.
What's up there? You see that? Conor McGregor one. And then we've got, that's a Joe Fraser one there.
Very nice.
That's Joe Fraser one. And then that's McGregor against Mendes as well.
Yeah.
And then that's Roy Jones.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Where's
that's
one?
That's nice. In the house, mate. They're prized possessions.
Aye, that is.
Know what I mean?
Aye, you don't want somebody rattling the office and taking that.
No, exactly, mate.
So I'm going to get into boxing's return. It's been quite difficult to have a podcast, I suppose, whilst there's not been much boxing on, but we've seen the return recently. It was the first since mid-March on ESPN with headlined by Shakur Stevenson. Did you guys see the fight?
Is that a bottle of wine you're drinking?
Starro Brahman. It's a good shout.
It's a large Starro Brahman, Prague's finest.
Sorry, mate. Put me off a wee bit there. What were you saying?
Shakur Stevenson, what's your thoughts on him, Ross? Did you see the fight? And how far do you think he can go in boxing? We've heard a lot of him potentially fighting Josh Warrington. Would he win that fight?
I think that'd be a good fight. Stevenson seems to be getting better and better every time you see him. I never seen the fight, mate. I don't think it was on anything, was it? I seen wee highlights on social media and stuff like that. I seen the stoppage with the body shot. I think he hurt both his hands as well. Did they know? But I never actually seen the fight, mate. But I think he's very good, Stevenson, and he does seem to be getting better and better. Started out when I first seen him, he was very, very amateur, but now he seems to be getting very a pro style now, and he's stopping a lot more boys. So I think he'll do really well. At featherweight, to be honest with you, I think he'll beat Warrington.
He'll beat Warrington?
I think so, aye.
Do you think the fight will happen?
It should, but whether it does or not is a different matter in it. I think, obviously, with everything that's going on the new, that's going to affect things massively. So it'll be difficult to see these big fights happen because the money's going to be difficult to make them happen. I think that's where this is going to come into play and what fights kind of happen. Do you know what I mean? Given, obviously, potentially the travel ban and now the money that's kicking about. Is there enough money for people to risk taking these fights now, or are they just going to stay safe to now and now have fights, the big fighters anyway, have fights that they'll know that they're going to win until things get back to normal, maybe potentially next year. So I don't think you'll see it happen this year, but potentially next year, aye.
Yeah. Craig, what's your thoughts? And also, do you think that UFC are one step ahead of boxing in terms of their return? Because with the UFC, I know you're a fan and you watch the fights, and it seems to be the cards that they're coming back with just now are very competitive. And do you think that's maybe because, you know, in comparison with the money that the UFC fighter us to get 2 boxers? Do you think that's the problem, or why we're not seeing competitive cards with boxing in the return in comparison with UFC?
I think before the lockdown or before coronavirus, you can compare the two business models, and UFC has always set its stall out to try and have competitive fights. All you need to do is glance through the betting columns. If you glance through the odds on a UFC card comparatively with a boxing card, there's no point in putting a bet on boxing if you're into betting, because sometimes you'll have 3 or 4 fights at the top of a bill that are 1 to 50, 1 to 100 on. It's pointless, and too often boxing bases itself on really one-sided predictable fights. UFC's never been like that. It's always, I say never, there's obviously the odd fight, but it's always had more competitive matchups. And when you scroll through the betting odds for UFC, a lot of guys are evens, both sides of the, home and away, they're evens. It's very, very close, and it's hard to predict. And I think because they've only got that one unifying belt, if you like, or one championship to fight for, they can't afford to have people protected and guided all the way up to get to championship level, because there's going to be so few opportunities and more people competing for those opportunities. In terms of the return, UFC, Dana White is as pig-headed as anybody, and I think he was determined to get back before anybody, just to make a statement. I think the way they've done it has been good. It seems to have been well received. I know there was Jacare on the first card tested positive, and there was a bit of furor about that. Why was he hugging people after the weigh-in and stuff? But I think after that, it's been absolutely spot on, and I've really enjoyed it. I think it's opened your eyes to the kind of dialogue cage side as well, which has been quite nice for fans. I know we've been watching German football or Portuguese football over the last couple of weeks. You can hear everything that's going on, but you don't really know what they're saying. You don't know what it is they're talking about because of the language barrier. So it's been quite nice to hear UFC fighters speaking to their corner. You can hear them talking to each other inside the ring, and I think they've done really well. I think it's definitely a step ahead.
Yeah. And do you think that he beats Warrington, and do you think that the fight happens, Craig?
A lot of people are really high on Shakur Stevenson. A lot of people in America really, really rate him. They're saying he could be the next Floyd Mayweather and blah, blah, blah. I think he looks good. He doesn't get hit a lot, which is obviously that Floyd Mayweather comparison. Warrington's I think he probably does beat Warrington, because Warrington will play it into his hands. He'll come steaming forward, you would imagine, and put on relentless pressure like he always does. That's probably what suits Shakur Stevenson, to be honest. He can rely on those top level boxing skills from the amateur days. Obviously, Warrington's a great boxer as well, but I just think there is a difference in level when it comes to the two. And I think Warrington steaming forward, he'll make mistakes and he'll be caught off guard, and I do think Stevenson would beat him.
Yeah, I think there's definitely similarities. You have these in the past, these American fighters coming over, and sometimes they're unknown quantities, but they come up here. They come over here with a big reputation. We've seen Jeff Lacey when he fought Joe Calzaghe, and there's probably similarities with potentially this fight happening when Errol Spence Jr. came over and Kell Brook and outclassed him. And for me, I think I agree with Craig in terms of stylistically. I think that Warrington will come forward and could see Stevenson beating him. But just hopefully the fight happens when everything returns to normal. Ross, I've got a question for you. A question came in, and since we're on the subject of the kind of coronavirus and lockdown and how it's affecting boxing as well, will the coronavirus lockdown affect fighters' attitudes towards taking riskier fights when boxing returns? And also,
good question.
How do you think the current situation will impact the professional sport in Scotland?
I don't think, in fairness, the coronavirus will play a massive impact. I think money will play the big impact, mate, on it. And at the end of the day, it's all about risk and reward, and if you're getting paid well to take the fights, whether it's pre or post coronavirus, it doesn't really matter. You're either going to want to fight or you're not. But I think the big impact's going to be on what purses are on offer. So if you're potentially getting offered a fight that now pre-coronavirus would have been, you'd get paid 15 grand for it, and now you're getting offered the same price and you're getting 7.5 grand, then you're not going to take that fight. Do you know what I mean? And it's going to be very difficult to, as I said earlier, put these fights on, because where does the money come from unless you go down a pay-per-view model? And at the smaller level, obviously that's not going to happen for British title fights and things like that. So it becomes more difficult to put on better fights when the money isn't there to support them.
Yeah.
And then you've got the training issue as well, do you know what I mean? So I know, like, Jordan was offered a fight behind closed doors on Frank Warren's show when now it next comes up. But how do you prepare properly for a 10 or a 12 round fight now when you can't get access to gyms, you don't have sparring partners? Now it's not a good time to be preparing for a top level fight. Do you know what I mean? Now everybody can go and train for a 6-rounder now against a journeyman or whatever it may be, but if you're getting into a competitive fight without access to the proper training, it's very, very difficult to compete at that level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the UFC have definitely got it right, but we've seen the fallout this week with some of the bigger stars in regards to pay, and there's no doubt that the boxers get paid more money, certainly at the top level, than they do in the UFC. So I think that affects the quality of cards once boxing starts as well, certainly in my opinion. But I'm concerned with how it's going to affect Scottish boxing, to be honest with you, because I don't know when the cards are going to come back. And without being disrespectful, I don't think there's a lot of money in Scottish boxing, certainly for undercard fighters. So how are they going to pay the bills at the end of the day? And we don't know when the cards are going to come back. I know certainly we're seeing some posts from Kinnock boxing in terms of them trying to get back to things as soon as they can, but we still don't know when that's going to happen.
But I think Sam's talking about the first show being in September. You know what I mean? But again, it just depends, like you say, on how this develops. Do you know what I mean? And what the government allow. I think you'll probably see more shows at sort of the Crown Plaza level than you will at, say, the Lagoon, because it is a sort of smaller venue, if you will, and you can have, because it's tables, you can have the separation. Do you know what I mean? You can have that 2 metre separation when you're doing dinner shows. So I think you'll see it more likely to come back to start with at dinner shows and then get pushed out to public shows. So I reckon that's the model that will probably the smaller shows will go for, because packing a leisure centre isn't going to happen now with the social distancing.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Is there a risk that the social distancing and bringing shows back with limited crowds and stuff, is there a risk that a lot of the big ticket sellers who maybe would have relied on selling loads and loads of tickets, is there a risk that those guys who would have normally been a promoter's fighter of choice to fill a card, that they could maybe slip away from the sport because they don't have that string to their bow at the moment because they physically can't do it?
It could be, mate. It could be because you get limited crowds, but I mean, it all depends, like you say, on what kind of deal they've got. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if you've got a dinner hall show that can only fill now so many people, you can only seat so many people, then it could be a better opportunity for the people that don't sell as many tickets. Do you know what I mean? Because there'll be a limited capacity. So if you get a 6-fight show on maybe, say, the Crown Plaza that fills, I don't know, maybe 300 people, do you know what I mean? Then everybody doesn't have to sell as much tickets to be able to get on that fight card. Do you know what I mean? And you may also see more Scottish fights, do you know what I mean? Scottish title fights, or at least decent fights against each other, because, again, of the restrictions of flying in foreigners. So you could end up, rather than, say, a promoter having to pay an opponent, if you've got 4 or 5 fights that are Scottish fights, you've got 10 fighters selling tickets rather than 5 fighters selling tickets and 5 opponents. So it could work out beneficial to Scottish boxing on the whole when every fighter in the card's selling tickets, rather than like you say, your ticket seller being against your journeyman, ticket seller, journeyman, ticket seller, journeyman. If you've got maybe only a couple of day fights and then 3 Scottish fights, then I think it'll make for a better card and a better atmosphere, probably. Do you know what I mean? And more competitive fights. But that's obviously based on Scottish people willing to take their fights.
The doorbell, you couldn't make it up. Honest to God.
Is your door wet?
My door.
Fuck's sake, man. That's just embarrassing. Well, we always do anyway, whether you're here or not, it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? What's happening, buddy?
I want to know where he got that fucking wallpaper. What is happening
I
there?
know. I thought that he was in a museum when we first started. It's not the best, is it?
He looks like he's in Doc Cotton's house for EastEnders. I don't know what's happening.
He's been put in a care home right early in his life, hasn't he?
I don't know what's going on. All right, mate.
Leaning 15, that's me. That's my meal sorted for the next month.
Brilliant.
I knew something was going to go wrong. Let's do you know what I mean. Something was going to go wrong. So the doorbell's not the worst.
Aye, that's very true.
So somebody you know quite well, trained with his father, Ross. Scott Harrison again announcing a comeback 18th of July, Aberdeen on Bieber. Think it's worth a comeback, or do you think you should just hang them up, Ross?
It's worth a comeback if he got licensed by the board of control, do you know what I mean? But for somebody at Scott's level to be fighting on now with Bieber, listen, it's difficult, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, nobody knows his situation, you know, and if they're going to pay him well, then good on him, do you know what I mean? But I'd like to see Scott fighting now proper people on proper cards. I just don't, I know we've spoken about this before probably a couple of times, but I really don't understand why he's not getting licensed by the board of control. Do you know what I mean? How? When you see the amount of people that have been licensed previously for them, the amount of people that have now committed crimes, that have been in jail, that have done a lot more serious things than Scott, and for some reason they get licensed but Scott doesn't. And to me, I really don't get it. I don't understand why he's not getting licensed. And listen, he's very active in social media, and you see him now, and fair play to him, man. He's been training for years now, you know, and constantly getting setback after setback, but yet still training. So good on him, man, for keeping that mentality up and being able to fight through what they've put him through, because a lot of people would have just went, fuck this. You know what I mean? Now, what's the point? But if they're going to pay him, well, good on him. But it's not the level he should be fighting at, let's be honest.
Yeah. Craig Scott, when are we going to see a Scott Harrison article?
Well, within the last week, Scott Harrison has actually followed me on Twitter and Instagram. So, listen, you never know. Maybe you'll see a Scott Harrison book. You never know. But
something will write
about it. In a Craig Dock book.
It will not be. Listen, Craig Dock's a lunatic, man. You need to fucking find him before you can. You need to find that guy before you can get a book written with him.
You like to tell us any Craig Dock stories?
He did phone me. He phoned me a few weeks into the lockdown, and bear in mind, my missus is working in intensive care. Like, she was stressed out, going through a hard time. People were dying. You know, it was a scary time. She's home one day after work, and Craig Dock starts phoning me, and I went, "What's he phoning me for?" So I've answered the phone. I'm like, "How you doing, mate?" He's been, How you doing? How's things? Aye, things are good, aye. Listen, Craig, see this coronavirus? Do you think it's real? And I've went, I'm pretty sure it's real. She's at the table, pure stressed out, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's real, mate. Listen, what a character, man. He's brilliant. So hopefully catch up with him at some point soon. I've been texting him back and forward. But Scott Harrison, a friend of mine, Terry, just wrote an article on Boxing News with him. I think it was a 6-pager. And just to touch on Ross's point with the board, he actually went and spoke to Robert Smith when he was writing the article, and got a few quotes for Robert Smith as well to see why. Because of what you've said there, Ross, people with worse criminal histories than him have been licensed, or people that aren't as good for the sport as him have been licensed before. And Robert Smith's argument was, Scott Harrison has had chance after chance after chance. It's no, all right, you had to serve time in jail in Spain, you're never getting a licence again. Apparently he's been invited to hearings, he's not turned up, or he's had a chance to explain his actions, he's not done it well enough. And Robert Smith, I think his phrase was, they are not confident that he is able to turn himself around personally at the moment, and they believe that would end up reflecting once again poorly on the sport of boxing. Whether that's true or not, obviously we've all got our own points of view. Ross, I know you've trained with Dad for a while, so you obviously know the family and how deep the family are involved in Scottish boxing. If he wants to fight on Bieber, let him fight on Bieber. Do you know what I mean? People aren't going to watch it on TV. Or real boxing fans probably aren't going to go to the show, but he'll still sell a ticket. I've had people messaging me on Twitter, like DMing me on Twitter, asking where the show is. Do you know what's happening with Scott Harrison's comeback? Are they going to allow people to go and watch it? So people are interested in it happening. And like Ross said again, he's training. He's always out hitting the road, doing 10-mile runs, hitting the bag in his dad's gym. He's putting the work in. It's one of the things, and I've spoken to a few people recently for articles who have retired. and it's letting it go. It's just understanding when to let it go, and it seems to be the hardest thing. I spoke to Paul Appleby on Saturday, and he said he fought Scott Cardle in his last fight and got stopped. And he said to me on the phone, my timing was so close to being right. And it was right, I think I would have beat him. And I said to Paul, how hard is it to know when that is actually true, or when you're just clinging to that excuse because you don't know how to do anything else? And I think that's a big part of it. A lot of these guys don't know how to do anything else. Ross, you were lucky enough that you had a successful career, and you were working throughout, and you're in a position of power within your company, so you've never really had to worry about that. But these people that literally don't know anything else, it must be so hard to give up and say fuck this, because fuck this, you turn the other way and you're facing a wall, and there's nothing else for you to do. So I don't know. If he wants to fight, good for him. As long as he's healthy, then good luck to him.
Yeah. We've spoken the pod before. I mean, it's different probably with Ross's example, because the position you're in your working life, Ross. But it's a good point that Craig makes. There's fighters that all they know is boxing, and we've seen it time and time again, even with people like Ricky Hatton that really struggled and turned to other things, unfortunately, because probably the adulation that he gets from fighting, and he didn't know what else to do with his life. And I just hope when this happens to fighters that they go into the training side of things are still involved in boxing. But I suppose there can only be so many of them that are as well. So the problem is for those that just completely exit the sport. But there's some that seem comfortable with it. I've seen like Ryan Burnett. I think he started like his own gym, and he seems quite comfortable with the fact that he's out of boxing. So some deal with it better than others, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I was quite disappointed, and Craig, you're good for pronunciation. Oleksandr Gvovdyk.
Oh no, Ross corrected me on this before. I thought it was Gvovdyk.
Right. Ross.
Bosnick.
Right.
Ross says it's Rosnick, which makes no sense.
Bosnick. No, Rosnick.
He sounds as if he's saying Alan Boxic.
Aye. Your banter's shite, mate. Absolutely shite. Alexander is his name.
I'm working on it in lockdown, fuck's sake.
Aye, well, who are you? You're old man.
Oh, Big Campbell got to see you tomorrow.
Brutal, man. Brutal. Anyway, what about him? Bosnick guy, he's chucked it.
No, I'm just quite disappointed that he's chucked it. Why do you think he's chucked it, Ross?
I don't know, mate. You've not really heard anything. I listened to Teddy Atlas's podcast actually, and there's been nothing that's come up about it now, obviously, since the Beterbiev fight. So I don't know, maybe just for some people, mate, like you just mentioned about Ryan Burnett there, some people don't love the sport. Do you know what I mean? Some people do it because they're really good at it and it pays them well, and now they get to a certain point where you don't want to do it anymore. It's a hard sport, man. You're not talking about just turning up for a fight and that's it. You've got training camps, you've got families that you're away for, you've got dieting, you've got now injuries, and he's getting older, and maybe he got to a level where he could beat Avi Beterbiev and he just felt that was enough for him. It's very, very difficult to understand where these people are. You see it a lot with the Cubans as well, where they've been brought up in boxing and they've lived that life of boxing, and then they get a wee bit of money and they kind of fade away from it, so you just don't know everybody's personal situation. Folk like Scott obviously love it and want to keep doing it for as long as you can, and then you get other people that once they need to chuck it, they're fine with it, they're okay, I mean, Burnett only something like 28.
He's young, aye.
So he's not an old boy that had obviously won now world titles, but he had major injuries, didn't he, throughout his whole career. So maybe he just got to a point where he's thought, you know what, I've done everything that I was going to do. He's earned some good dough, probably. Time to chuck it. His body just isn't holding up. And until you really hear the reason for why Bosnick has decided to chuck it, then you just don't know. You know what I mean? It could be injuries. It could be just he's lost his love for it. It could be just he's saying it now and in 6 months' time he makes a comeback. So it's still early doors, isn't it? There's hundreds of people out there that are saying they're chucking it and then they get offered a fight and they're back for it. So I wouldn't put much stock in it the new, mate, until boxing actually starts back, really.
Yeah. I've actually got a funny question in. Who is the most famous person in Craig Scott and Ross Murray's phone books? Craig Scott, listen, I think about 4 a.m. we were steaming one night, you told me the names in this, I was quite impressed to say the least.
Craig's will be better than mine, in fairness, aye.
You must have a few, Ross. You know what I mean? Some of the top yaws in Glasgow, at least.
Aye. I don't even know, mate, actually, who's famous in my phone book.
Come on,
me?
Ross.
Fuck's sake.
Nah.
Jordan
definitely. aye, Jordan, aye. He's definitely in my phone book. Peter Harrison.
Cash for it.
Cash, aye. Oh, just boxers, isn't it?
Fuck's sake, Ross. You must have somebody better than that.
Craig Dock.
Ah,
yes.
There's a cracker.
That was mine. That was my best one.
Craig, come on.
I've got loads, mate. Do you just want the biggest one?
You had to pick 2, and then me and Ross will choose who's the best.
George Foreman.
Oh.
And Ricky Burns, Buddy McGirt, David Benavidez, Don McRae, the author, great guy. Fucking.
So I really went right downhill since George Foreman, to be honest with you. I'd have built up to that rather than starting with that.
Andy Lee. Aye, there's George Taylor. There's plenty of them.
And another thing.
To be fair, I'm blocked off all of them, so it doesn't make a difference.
Have you got George Foreman in Snapchat?
No, I've got him on OnlyFans, though. He's fucking brilliant.
I haven't received any birthday cards from you, you couple of tight bastards.
It's because all you do is send us shite abuse in that group chat, that's why.
Shocking.
I wouldn't give you a sniff of my shite, in fairness, never mind a birthday card. So,
right.
You're no a pal, do you know what I mean? You're just a guy that I do a podcast with.
This is professional mode, right? So, I wanted to touch on the light heavyweight scene in the UK just now. There's been a lot of chat about potentially Buatsi fighting Callum Johnson, and also what to put Anthony Yarde into that mix as well. I'll get your thoughts, first of all, Ross, in terms of who you think's the standout between those three and how you would see a fight between Buatsi and Johnson going.
Just in case anybody's wondering, I've got all 3 of their numbers in my phone, just in case anybody's...
You get Tunde Ajayi's as well?
I do. What a fucking nugget he is, man.
Aye, fair enough, mate. Good fight, man. Really good fight. I think Callum Johnson's really underrated, man. I like Buatsi, man. I've liked Buatsi since the Olympics. Kind of now came out of nowhere in the Olympics and was stopping people. And I think we've spoken about this before as well, that when you're stopping people in the amateurs, you've got power. You know what I mean? And he was consistently doing that at a high level as well. So it's very difficult to see by him out of the 3 of them that you've mentioned, but the other 2 are a lot more experienced than him. And I do really like Callum Johnson as well. Done really well against Beterbiev, put Beterbiev down, and I think he could cause problems against Buatsi. It's a fight that I'd really like to see. So I'm looking forward to that one, but I struggle to see by Buatsi. He's so calm and calculated. Do you know what I mean? Now, doesn't waste anything, picks his punches really well, and just never seems under any duress. But I don't think he's really been tested yet either, whereas Johnson has, you know, and don't get me wrong, the step up that he's made, obviously, he lost, but it's still great experience fighting at that level. So, really, really interesting fight, but I think for me, Buatsi would win that in points. Yeah.
Craig, what do you think? Was there not a wee whisper about you writing one of their books?
I've just linked myself with everybody's book now.
Stop writing articles and just start writing books, you lazy bastard.
I know, mate, I know. I think Buatsi beats the both of them. If I had to rank the three of them, I'd say Buatsi top, Callum Johnson second, and Anthony Yarde last. I think Callum Johnson, if he was to fight Anthony Yarde, I think he beats Anthony Yarde. I think his foundations are a lot stronger than Anthony Yarde's foundations in terms of the basics. He's got a solid amateur pedigree, hits very, very hard, and I just think something about Yarde, I'm not sold on it at all, man. I think Yarde could come unstuck against a Hosea Button, if I'm honest with you. I think he obviously hits very hard and stuff. I'm just not convinced if he was to go and find a new trainer who maybe would drill more of the basics into him, or maybe would get him training more conventionally. Maybe I think he could go on and win a world title, but at the moment I can't see it. I just can't see it. And he's a really nice guy. He seems to be applying himself the way he should be. He handles the media very well. His profile's brilliant. I just don't think he's good enough. I think he looks like he should be good enough. He's a very visual package. The way he looks, the way he conducts himself, he's like a marketer's dream almost. But I think these two guys both beat him, to be honest, and I can't see him winning a world title at this time. But I might be wrong.
There's a wee bit of the Prince Patels about Anthony Yarde, do you know what I mean? Where he kind of sneaked his way into that world title shot by fighting guys that weren't very good but had good records, and he get built up by sort of one division, do you know what I mean? And elevated to a spot that he shouldn't be in. Whereas
who's his best win? Who's his best win?
I don't even know, mate. I don't know any of the guys that he's fought. He's kind of skipped British and European and Commonwealth level, if you will, and I don't mean that. Obviously, Prince Patel's a special guy, you know what I mean? So, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to Yarde. I think I like Yarde, you know what I mean? And like you say, I've actually met him a couple of times, and he seems a right nice guy. Doesn't come across like Patel. I just mean in the way that he's been manufactured towards that title shot it's not been done in the conventional way. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, there's fights out there like Hosea Button, like Buatsi and Johnson that Yarde should have done before he ever get anywhere near Kovalev. Do you know what I mean? But he just managed to get into that position through ranking points. It was a WBO, wasn't it?
Aye.
So listen, that's what Warren does. Do you know what I mean? Warren is getting allegiance with the WBO, and you see that through all the fighters that he have that fight for WBO European belts, and then they get elevated now to a position where they can get the better fights. So, but they do traditionally sort of skip that British level, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think, Craig? Do you think if you had to rank the three of them, what would you say?
The same as yourself. I think Buatsi and Johnson's a great fight, but Buatsi's poise and he just looks like a class act. But you know, he is so calm in there. But Callum Johnson has to be respected as well. I see Yarde quite far behind the both of them. You know, I think the two of them beat him quite easily. I wasn't really impressed with Yarde against Kovalev either. His output for having a world title shot, he hardly threw many punches, and I think it was the 8th round he had success, and Kovalev is a fighter that's aging as well. But for me, yeah, I mean, maybe aesthetically and everything else, but for me, he's miles behind those two. But I would love to see Buatsi against Johnson. I really like both fighters, and I think it'd be a great fight.
Buatsi didn't look great in his last fight, in fairness.
Nah. The thing for me is Callum Johnson's one of these guys where he doesn't fight anywhere close to enough. He doesn't fight anywhere near regular. It seems like between every fight there's about a year, or there's like over it. I don't know what it is. Like since he fought Beterbiev, I think did he knock out Shawnee Monaghan? I think he stopped Shawnee Monaghan in America on one of the Matchroom shows, but that must be about a year ago. Like that. He's always taking too long out in between fights. Just has to fight somebody, man. Just get in there. Buatsi will probably come to that level as well. It was his last fight, against the boy that James DeGale beat, the Mexican boy.
Mm-hmm. I think he stopped him with what looked like a low blow, didn't he? Now, I remember the boy was complaining about it, but he just didn't look. He didn't look great. He didn't look like the Buatsi we had seen previously. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying when he fights somebody like Johnson, it'll be an interesting fight because you're not going to walk through Johnson, and like you say, he has got power. So it'll be interesting to see if he can land in Buatsi, how he takes a shot as well, because we know that he can dish it out, but it's a different kettle of fish when you start getting hit with power like Johnson's got. So really interesting fight.
It's mad when you look at. I seen a picture just after I'd interviewed Callum Johnson. I seen a picture of him standing next to Callum Smith. Callum Smith is substantially bigger than Callum Johnson. Callum's fucking massive, man. So it'll be interesting to see if he dips his toe into that light heavyweight at some point. So it doesn't seem like he's getting a big fight anytime soon. And then they're talking about Bivol going back down to super middleweight, so they might pass each other by. So great division, the light heavyweight division just now. Lots of talent, lots of European talent as well. But they just need to fight each other. I think Beterbiev is probably the one to beat at the moment.
Yeah, agreed. So a name that's been in the press last week, or seems to be made famous this week, Daniel Kinahan from MTK Global. Everyone announcing that Fury and Josh has agreed for 2021.
Sorry, I just got.
I was good talking to you, lads. We'll catch you later.
So
Fury Joshua, did you say there? Sorry.
Was that Fury Joshua, Ross? Yeah.
Aye.
Do you think the fight will go ahead? For me, it's just
no.
It's a bit premature in terms of announcing that when one's got to fight Pulev and one's going to fight Wilder before that fight even happens, and what happens if one of them were to lose that fight? So where's the value in announcing that fight just now, Ross?
There isn't any, mate, to be honest with you, actually, apart from the hysteria that it's created in social media, do you know what I mean? But like, I had a few people ask me about it, and I was just kind of like, aye, whatever. You know what I mean? If it happens, then great. But to say, terms have been agreed and we'll fight next year, it's like, right, okay, we'll wait and see what happens next year. Do you know what I mean? Because like you say, you've got a Wilder fight straight away, then you've got mandatories, then you've got there's all different things that can happen within now to next year that this fight's supposedly been agreed. Do you know what I mean? And what the split is and where it's going to happen and rematch clauses, and you're nowhere near that fight happening. So to come out and say it's been agreed is I don't get it. I don't get why, unless it's the next fight that's happening and we're looking at booking the fight then. Why announce anything?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just without a venue, and they've probably just agreed the fact that it'll be 50-50 purse. To me, that's
pretty much
been agreed, and we'll sort everything else down the line. But I don't think it's going to be that simple somehow.
Nah, it never is. It never is with a fight of that magnitude, you know what I mean? But listen, it's a positive step that they're talking about it now, but at the end of the day, until, like you say, until something's booked and there's something solid to go, and then I'm not excited about it anyway yet until it's actually happening and there's a venue for it and who's going to host it, because you get so many different factors going in there. Do you know what I mean? Different TV companies and stuff like that. So is it going to be in America? Is it Top Rank? Is it Matchroom? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I just don't see any benefit of what was said about it last week.
What's Craig? Just wanted to come to you, Craig, and just get your thoughts on Daniel Kinahan.
On the record,
I've not the pleasure of meeting him, but all I've heard is good things. So he's great what he's doing for the sport in terms of trying to arrange these big fights. Craig, can probably just leave it there.
Well, I will tell you right now, I think it is absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. The social media activity generated recently from MTK affiliated fighters, people who are signed to MTK or whatever, it's so tiresome, man. It's so tiresome. And I think it's actually really cringy looking at some people's fucking, a guy that Ross fought, and I thought you beat him, Ross, to be honest, Sonny Edwards.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
But even look at him.
He's a Craig.
Aye.
Ironically, you probably were in London at that time, and all you prick.
I was going to go and I seen you were on the bill and thought, fucking hell.
Because your pal Lerone Richardson was on it as well.
Lerone Richards.
Sorry.
I think the Sonny Edwards is a prime example, and he's somebody who is known for speaking his own mind, doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. And some of the propaganda that has been coming out for these characters on Twitter, there was an article released by MTK where it had little sound bites from like loads of famous people from the combat world, like Darren Till, Roy Jones Jr., people like that, and every single one of them was shoehorning Daniel Kinahan's name into this article, just like forcing it into this fucking article. I think it's not for any of us to say in terms of where he should be or how he should be spending his time. Should he be in Ireland answering questions, or should he be in Dubai sunning himself? That's not for us to say, but the monopoly effect, or the domino effect that MTK have over boxing just now is quite scary for me. And I've heard people compare it to Uber when they go into countries normally, and they go in and they undercut the prices of local taxi companies or black cabs or whatever it is. And then when everybody's using Uber and those people are out of business, Uber then start to increase their price, and you don't have a choice because you are then answering to that monopoly. MTK seems like they're maybe trying to do the same thing. They're signing up loads of fighters, they're staging events, they're brokering deals between guys. When other people can no longer do it anymore, when your small hall guys maybe can't do it, you then don't have an option but to sign with somebody like that or to fight on somebody like that show, and it starts to become a bit of a monopoly. And I think there's a reason to be concerned about it in terms of how it affects boxing. Nothing else, it's nothing to do with us, but it's a bit worrying. And some of the stuff I've seen coming out last few weeks, man, it's nothing short of embarrassing for some people, I would say.
I think it's agree with some of the stuff you're saying, mate, but I think in fairness to them, they've been great for the fighters. Do you know what I mean? If you look at, I get what you're saying there in terms of monopoly and things like that, but if you look at guys like, for instance, somebody like, say, Jay Harris, right, that I fought as well, Jay struggled to get fights. Do you know what I mean? Nobody would fight him, and obviously, probably part of the problem they had that he's very good, and the money that you were getting offered to fight him was shit. You know what I mean? I mean, the money I get paid to fight Jay Harris was ridiculous, but I just wanted to fight him, and I wanted a shot at the Commonwealth title. So you took the fight, you know, but then you see him struggling along for when he beat Thomas Asomba to maybe 2 or 3 years. I mean, I think, was I maybe the first person that fought him for that belt after he beat Asomba? I think I might have been, within like 18 months to 2 years. And then he signs with MTK, and before you know it, he's fought Paddy Barnes, he's fought the boy who was at Moreno for the European title, and then he gets the fight for the world title. Do you know what I mean? And he probably, I'd imagine, he earned good dough for that world title fight on a show over in America. So in fairness to them, for the boxers that they represent, they do well for them. Do you know what I mean?
But how are they doing that? How are they are they doing it? And I know it's easy to say, like, I know what you're saying, that the fighters have all come out and said, oh, this has happened because of MTK and that's happened because of MTK. For me, and I've never boxed, as everybody knows. Ethically, does there come a point where you have to take a step back and go, all right, it's brilliant he's fighting more and it's brilliant he's getting these opportunities, but what's happening behind the scenes? Like, what's the deal here? And I'm not just talking about them signing up loads of fighters. I'm talking about, obviously, Craig mentioned Daniel Kinahan's name, and it's been spoken about thousands of times in the last couple of weeks. Does there come a point where you ethically have to stand back and go, I'm not really too comfortable with that?
Nah, no chance, mate. As a boxer, man, I think you're putting boxing's a selfish sport, right? And it's a very, very short career. Do you know what I mean? And I might be going to sound bad saying this here, right? But see, if I'm getting the opportunities to fight for world titles and I'm getting paid well, I don't really care where the money's coming from. See whatever MTK are doing in the background, go and do it. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I'm getting paid my dough. You're putting your life on the line every time you fight. Do you know what I mean? Especially at the level that these guys are fighting at. And if I'm, again, let's just use Jay Harris, and I'm getting paid $6,000 for a 12-round Commonwealth title fight, and now I'm getting paid $100,000 a year later for a 12-round world title fight, I couldn't care less where that money's coming from. And let's be honest, half of the people that we work for somebody, who knows where the money's came from for them to start up that business? Do you know what I mean? You can't tell me that a lot of people that whatever business they have got that money legally or correctly. Do you know what I mean? So where do we draw the line here with, like you say, the ethical viewpoint that if somebody starts up a business and you go and work for them and you knew that before they've got that money through some illegal now business, it's not my problem, that's not my issue. I turn up and do my job for you and I get paid at the end of the month. Do you know what I mean? So I think we're drawing it. Like, I don't think we can put fighters in the positions where we can say here, by the way, ethically, MTK, there's a dodgy background there. Do you really want to be fighting with them? Well, I want to be fighting for the person that's going to pay me the most money and is going to get me the most opportunities. Know what I mean? And there's nothing that says that what MTK are doing now, there's nothing illegal about it. Do you know what I mean?
But there's a difference between, and I totally get what you're saying. If you're working for somebody and they've earned the money through some other way, it's nothing to do with you. You're coming in, you're doing your job. There's nothing that's completely different to publicly hanging your hat on somebody's reputation or publicly making statements defending somebody's reputation who has been accused of the things that he's been accused of.
Well, listen, I get that. I get that 100%. That's a different kettle of fish from the point that you made, but about saying, well, fighters should potentially ethically look at who they're fighting for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't need to come out on social media and support now these people or whatever they think, whether that's right or wrong. Because at the end of the day, now nobody knows. Do you know what I mean? So I get that. I get that point, and I agree with them. But in terms of now who they fight for, I'm fighting for whoever's paying me the most money and getting me the most opportunities, and that's what MTK are doing for their fighters. And I can understand why their fighters love fighting for them, because they get the opportunities and they get paid well for them.
Yeah,
fair.
See, in regards to, it's good points that both of you make, but we've seen there's fighters going now from Matchroom to MTK Global. What do you think is the main reason for that? Charlie Edwards is a good example.
Well, he's not going to MTK Global. Charlie Edwards went to Frank Warren. So we're getting confused here about what MTK do. MTK are a management company. Yeah. Matchroom and Frank Warren are promoters. Do you know what I mean? So these guys are maybe managed by MTK, but Charlie Edwards made the decision to move from Matchroom to Frank Warren.
Yeah.
So sorry, what was your question? Why did they do that?
No, do you think MTK Global are just giving these fighters much more opportunities? I mean, you've touched on some fighters there, and Sonny Edwards, for example, and all of a sudden you get these title shots and maybe going through the ranks quicker than some other promotional companies would be able to do, or management companies would be able to do. Do you think that's what MTK Global are doing well, because there's so many fighters now going to them?
I think you need an effective middleman sometimes, and I think all you have to do is look at how abrasive the relationship can be between Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Like they don't like each other, they don't want to do deals with each other really. So it's always nice to have an effective middleman, a voice that can speak to both sides and say, let's make it happen, and bring those two parties together, because it means that maybe the finer details don't need to be ironed out between Eddie and Frank sitting over a table. It means they can be done, right, tell them this, tell them that. It can be done by MTK. So I don't think it's a bad idea in terms of having somebody fulfil that role in your boxing career. I think it probably helps. I think they're probably brokering more effective deals than a lot of boxing managers out there are doing for their guys at the moment. And that's probably because of the wealth of knowledge they've got on board. A lot of their backroom guys have been involved in boxing for decades. You've got guys like Roy Jones involved. You've got guys like Bobby Allen involved. And they've been involved in boxing for so many years. They know what a good deal is, and they know what a fighter should be expected to receive. I think they're obviously an effective management company. And I think people are going to them because they are able to cross that divide. They're able to walk to the other side of the street and make deals where maybe being solely aligned to a promoter, you could not go and do that because there'd be too much needle between the two opposing promoters, if that makes sense.
I think a lot of it goes down to really like the UFC model that you talked about yesterday. The MTK are becoming a wee bit like that, where if they're managing fighters, it doesn't matter whether you're fighting for Matchroom or Hearn or Top Rank or Warren or whoever. If they're managing you, then they're trying to get the best deal for that fighter. And like Craig says, they can negotiate with whoever they want to put their two fighters together because they're managing them. Do you know what I mean? So it's up to them then how they make their fights happen. And what you're talking about has happened historically in boxing, and it's been the issue that fans have had with boxing for years, is that the big fights don't happen. It doesn't matter whether it's Britain and it's Matchroom against Queensberry, or it's America where you see like Al Heyman is essentially now dominating certain weight divisions because he's already champions. People talk about Crawford, about how he's not proven, but he can't get the fights because Al Heyman's controlling every other fighter in that division and matching them against each other. So Crawford's left with what PBC don't have to fight. And if you have maybe somebody like an MTK Global over there, they can speak to Top Rank, they can speak to Al Heyman, then you maybe see these bigger fights happen as well. So I think that's where MTK come into play, that they're helping these big fights happen, hopefully. And at the end of the day, that's what the fans want to see. They want to see the big fights happen. They don't care about what network it's on, who the promoter is, who's doing this, that, or the next thing. They just want to see Crawford fight Spence.
Yeah. And do you think, just before we move on, just want to touch quickly on the fact that if these fights are to go ahead, then Dylan White will be how many years sitting as mandatory for the WBC? Do you think that's, a bit of a joke in terms of how long he's going to need to wait?
I think it's remarkable, but what I think is more remarkable is that you are able to come to us on video chat when quite clearly you were in the 1970s with that background. What is happening with that?
You're in a care home.
Oh, wow.
That's a lovely picture.
Is that
Central Park in the winter?
Is that wallpaper with a wood effect on it?
No, it's just a pattern. Listen, you can speak to Mrs. Cameron if you've got a problem.
Listen, I've spoke to her plenty of times. Lovely woman.
I know. She'll be giving you a call later, ripping her wallpaper.
Yeah, can Ross do this? Because I need to go and get another beer.
What's that?
See that way you get a beer, mate. I'm stuck with you now. What was the question? Sorry.
No, we're
you get distracted by the wallpaper there.
So I'll start again. So WBC for me is seen as the most illustrious belt, the best belt for me.
The most what?
that one.
The most what?
Deleted.
You're getting away with that.
Do you think the WBC is a bit of a joke based on what's happening with Dylan White and how long it would be looking at 2022?
Right, well, wait, first things first, the guy's name's Dillian, no Dylan. No, I mean, so at least get his name right. It's Dillian White, right? And probably WBC, I think the word you were looking for was illustrious rather than whatever word you said, right? But anyway, listen, it is a bit of a joke. The poor guy's been sitting there and he's fought pretty much everybody that he's had to fight to try and get the fight with Wilder, do you know what I mean? And then obviously now he should be Fury's mandatory, but you've got the rematch clauses, and then after you get the rematch clause out the way with Wilder, you're now talking about Fury fighting Joshua, do you know what I mean? So it leaves him in a terrible position again. But at the same time, if you're a fan, do you want to see Fury against Joshua, or do you want to see Fury against Dillian White? Yeah. So it becomes very difficult because at the end of the day, unifications trump mandatories. You know what I mean? So Dillian Whyte is in a bad position, but at the same time, these fights are going to generate a whole lot more money than what a fight against Dillian Whyte would for Tyson Fury, as is mandatory. But the mandatory at the same time has to mean something, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Why be the mandatory if you need to sit for 2 years or 2.5 years and no get your shot at it? So it's difficult. It is very difficult, and I understand why Dillian Whyte's frustrated. But at the same time, I understand that a unification also trumps a mandatory.
Yeah. Craig, welcome back.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your Boxing News article debut, Bradley Saunders.
Thank you.
Have you got it framed up on the wall yet?
No, I've only got the first Boxing Monthly ones on the wall from a couple of years ago, but not the Boxing News yet.
Where's your Ross Warrington?
Hopefully.
Is that not up on the wall yet?
No, I've not got that up on the wall yet.
What was funny about that, Craig?
What's that?
No, you're Craig, the other Craig. Now,
No,
you said that you got your Ross Murray one up on the wall. And
I know he's a big fan.
Ross,
I know he's a big fan, so I thought he would have one up on the wall. That's
what I'm saying. What was funny about it, Craig? Scott?
Well, what I'm doing is putting I'm putting elite fighters on the wall. So I've got Lomachenko, Duran,
nice,
Ricky Hatton.
Yep.
My article, and then I've got a wee space just up here. For the Ross Murray glove.
Good.
Right.
When it arrives. And the reason I was laughing was a lot of people will see that Ross has a go at me for not attending his fights, but that's not because
I don't actually. It's more Craig Cameron that has a go at you for it.
It's actually because if I was to come to one of those fights, I would become far too emotional and I would be blinded by my emotions on the night. So I couldn't do it. It'd be too much for me. So now that you've retired, I feel more at ease, and I feel that me and you are stronger than ever as a double act. Right. And I feel we've made this brand stronger than ever as well.
Definitely.
So, I'm just sitting here smelling this, by the way. It's fucking brilliant.
What is it?
It's good stuff.
Soap and Glory or something.
But what is it, like a moisturiser or something?
It is a hand butter, Ross.
Right.
Next to your laptop, that's interesting. Pretending you don't know what it smells like. Aye, very good. Craig, what's happening at Boxing Social? Have you been demoted? Seems to be a lot more writers these days.
Boxing Social has the strongest writing team in the UK at the moment.
There's a lot of new writers came on board, but in there, who is it? Who's the new ones again?
So we have sweeped up. Myself and Mr. Rob Tebbett spoke about this when Boxing Monthly swept past tense.
Aye, but you said sweeped, but
no, never.
He did.
He did.
You said we have sweeped up. You might be a writer, mate.
I know. Dearie me.
Sorry, guys. Carry on.
Anyway, when Boxing Monthly obviously ceased production, which was a shame. I had obviously known Mark Butcher, who was the assistant editor at Boxing Monthly, and a lot of the writers over there had a relationship with Mark. Rob wanted to get Mark on board. I spoke to Mark, Rob spoke to Mark, and we ended up bringing Mark Butcher, who has done countless years of work in boxing media. Luke Williams, who's a very good writer. He's written a book as well, which I think is one of the best selling sports books of the last 10 years or something like that. Terry Dooley, who's an absolute head case. He writes for Boxing News as well. He does the odd piece for us. He did the Scott Harrison piece in Boxing News. And he did the Audley Harrison cover story for Boxing News a week before. We've got James Audie, very good writer as well. He's a teacher and he's also wrote a book, not on boxing, but he wrote a good book as well. Who else we got? John Angus MacDonald, cracking guy, Scottish writer. Don't know if any of you know him, but he's the writer for Boxing Monthly. Good boy as well. And that's it.
That's it?
Nope. There's nobody else.
One more?
Who?
Glover. Craig Glover.
Chris.
Guy from Liverpool. He's top pad man, isn't he? Out in Brooklyn. NYC.
Chris, aka Danny Glover. He is on board. Now he's doing the odd wee bit. He does like media stuff for loads of websites.
Can I just interrupt a second? Did you put a post up about us doing the podcast? A picture? On your Instagram?
Me?
Oh,
Aye,
no.
me? Scott? Aye.
Flamingos. I did. I put a wee Instagram video up while I was talking, like when we were doing it.
Like, I just did a message for somebody asking, is Craig Cameron wearing these Daz Polo?
I got the same
Which
message.
is a great question. So to break away from the writers of Boxing Social, are you wearing your Daz Polo, right. Craig Cameron?
So I'll tell you a funny story. I wore this polo shirt out with the missus one time, and she was...
You got a bump?
Like, you wore that out with a bump?
My dad's got that polo shirt.
Brilliant.
So then I decided I'm not going to wear that again when I'm with her. So I'll wear it today because it was ironed and it'd been sitting there looking lonely for a while for a reason.
Can you stand up and give us a full view here?
No, I'm not wearing any pants. It's just a polo.
That's all right.
All I'll say is it fucking compliments
a full view.
It complements the fucking wallpaper, I'll tell you that.
Well, I was just going to get the reason I mentioned Chris Glover is the last time I spoke to him, Craig, he told me that he used to mentor you in your writing back in the day.
There's been a few people who I've learnt from my time in boxing media. Chris Glover is one of them. A young man called Gregory Doyle's another one. A fantastic writer. And the thing about me is I like when people are at ease with themselves and seem at peace with themselves, and he certainly does. So he's been a big inspiration to me as well. And it's just all about learning and getting better all the time. So if I can do that, then I'll continue to do so. And those two have been massive inspirations.
Yeah, that's the right attitude to have.
Got to be.
Definitely, mate. Positive.
Craig, any rants, or Ross, any predictions?
Ross has disappeared from my screen.
I got a phone call there. Sorry, lads.
Back. No, I don't have any rants. Well, nah, I don't. My only rant is the same rant as everybody else has got, man. All the stuff that's going on in the world's just went a bit mental on it recently, with the stuff happening with the virus, stuff happening with the Black Lives Matter protests, the stuff you see on social media, man. Oh my God, it's fucking torture. So I've tried to be tuning out a little bit more and trying to ignore that shit because it's all that's been on my timeline. But no rants boxing related because nobody's really been able to do anything. So I'm in a good place.
Okay. Ross, any predictions? Pretty hard just now. There's so much boxing on.
What exactly do you want me to predict? Here's a prediction for it. You're going to bin that polo once you get out of this chat.
That's a good prediction. I don't think you've actually got many predictions wrong, and that's definitely going to happen. I might bum that actually out the back. I've got a barbecue.
Burn it in the house, mate, and hopefully it'll catch that wallpaper and all.
Aye. But so no predictions. You're not going to come out of the do you know what? Fuck it. That's it. It's in the bin. And with that, I'm going to end the podcast. So thanks for joining us, lads. And
mate. Glad that training's helping you.
Cheers, boys.